Bum ba bum ba bum 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 rum bum 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 bum. It is hard to drum and sing at the same time. Welcome, drum and hum at the same time. Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and you can probably guess what's coming up. I was watching the European Canadians video. Look, they've synchronized their purses. They're pursing their lips at the same time. I was watching TEC's video on the developer commentary that just came out, and I got so excited. You can see some of the bulletin points here. I just need to share my joy with you guys. So I haven't watched this video yet. Let's jump into it. I'm going to be silly. I'm going to be ecstatic. I'm going to listen to BV Vyacheslav Bulenikov Tovarish for a bit. I'm going to make stupid comments on what's going on, and then we'll talk about what's actually coming to the game. It looks like something that my heart has longed for, but despaired of receiving for so long. So as my Stockholm Syndrome gives way to genuine hope, we will watch this video together. Allons-y. I'll crank up that volume for you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Vyacheslav Bulenikov.
Kill
I'm a War
Vyacheslav!
Thunder lead developer.
Okay, first important thing to take note of, screw off recommended videos, is Vyacheslav has some very interesting ears here. You can see that the upper part here is spacious, allowing for plenty of room to hear the cries of the community. And he also, I believe, has attached lobes. You can see just a bit of the green screen glow along the edges of his skin here. Either that, or he is in the first stages of transforming into a necromancer, but judging from the way he's sensually closing his eyes there and pursing his lips, he probably still has way too many emotion points in his character sheet to accommodate that. You can see, yeah, probably green screen there, but mainly, yeah, attached earlobes. That is, I think about 1 in 4 people has those, and what does that mean? Absolutely nothing. Let's carry on.
Today, I want to share our thoughts on the discussion that has been running recently in various platforms, including Reddit. Yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry, how rude of me. He waved. Hi, Vyacheslav.
We are reading you guys. We'd like to comment on...
Okay, to pause it here again, if you guys have felt like you need to cry out to be heard by War Thunder, or the War Thunder developers, well, pat yourselves on the back. Your cries have been heard. I think perhaps as a father of El Bebe, I know that when the tank baby is screaming her lungs out, or when she's just using the hand signal to say that she's hungry, she's communicating the same thing. And because I love her and I want her to grow and develop, I will respond to either one with the same response. But I will grow gray hairs when she screams her lungs out. And the reason I mention that, are you starting to see the connection here? I believe that Gaijin would respond to any organized community communication, whether it is hostile and loud and babyish, or whether it is reasonable but coordinated and appropriately persistent while still remaining cordial. Does that make sense? Cordial is just pleasant. So we've been heard, you might say, and hopefully this allows us more confidence in politely bringing up issues and does not encourage us to form a mob. Moving on.
The current WT metagame, particularly the topics of research rate and availability of certain modifications, and also the rewards you get after playing a match. In other words, the very same topics our players have been discussing recently on different platforms.
Okay, so main point is War Thunder lately, and this hits me double hard because I ran out of premium. I was on premium for a long time just as a side effect of spending way too much money on vehicle packs. And it ran out, and when premium ran out, they also started doing some things to scale back the amount of RP that I was earning. And then this RP cap thing really hit me hard. Because I'm used to performing fairly well in certain vehicles, and then when I look at my results, it's like, ugh, you know, and that battle that I stuck with was 20 minutes long, and I get 500 RP, you know, so I have the feeling he's going to address that issue, and I was not complaining about this, but I was just becoming sad, and you may have noticed that in a couple of my videos. But let's carry on. By the way, I want to make a video on how, before this even came out, yesterday I had a great time playing 3.7 American Air. And that's one of those BRs where you face some really tough vehicles, like the TA 154, early Focke-Wulfs, really good models of BF 109 like the F4 and the G2. But that's my home. I'm comfortable there. I'm confident, and I just had a blast. I was just having fun. And I wasn't making a ton of Silver Lions, even though I was turning a pretty good profit, and I wasn't focused on it. So my response to getting demoralized was to sit back, take a break, calm down, and then just ignore the issue that had gotten me upset and play something that was just fun for me to play. And I ended up having a lot of fun, met some really cool people, and because I had a good attitude, I made some new friends. That's just what I experienced. I felt like it was relevant to mention that here. And as we look forward to the windows of heaven opening up and RP pouring down upon all of the tryhards, myself very much included, I'd like to encourage you guys that balance is one of those things that you can set your mind to while you wait for true balance to come to the game. Does that make sense? Let's move on.
I also want to tell you about a few corresponding changes that we're currently thinking of or planning to implement in the game. We believe that having a huge variety of vehicles available to players is a crucial part of War Thunder experience.
Damn right. Moving on.
And the same goes to the process of leveling up a tank, an aircraft, or a ship. A certain progression through different stages.
He's absolutely right. You know, that RPG element, to put it simply, of gaining levels, of gaining power, it's one of the primary motivators for me after I unlock something. Why do I want to play this tank that I spent hours and hours unlocking? I want to unlock everything. I want to get all the modules. The real test isn't balancing how long that takes, and I feel like he's going to address that issue here. Let's keep watching.
At the same time, we believe that we can make research of modifications more interesting. In this regard, we're planning to introduce a few different changes affecting both the gameplay and the in-game economy.
Now, before we move on, Vyacheslav, I know that you've noticed me noticing you making eyes at me. Now, I'm not gonna assume anything about you, but I just want you to know, I'm taken. Okay, let's move on.
Gameplay-wise, we're going to implement a new request repair feature. This mechanic allows a player to repair a vehicle of his squad mate at his or her request.
That's a really cool feature. Honestly, I was distracted. Vyacheslav has some really cool things going on between his lower lip and his shoulder blades. It's like he's got the extra bit there on the neck, the goiter region, and it's really agile, and it moves as he speaks, and you can see the Adam's apple bobbing around, in and out there. It's a fantastic play, fascinating play of different bodily features. It's just absolutely fascinating. What? No, honestly. Okay, moving on.
even if the damaged vehicle doesn't have a repair kit of its
Look at it wiggle!
own. Moreover, players driving certain types of vehicles, like light tanks or IFVs, will be able to repair any allied vehicle if its owner requests assistance.
So, basically there's a new feature where you can request repair, and hopefully this shows up like when you're asking for a tow with some kind of marker over your vehicle, and I'm sure that there will be some kind of chat function as well. Repair me! I can't wait to hear what it sounds like. And then anyone who has that repairability as a light tank or whatever, you can repair that person even if they don't have parts. That's really cool. I love it. It gives those support tanks, those light tanks and scouts, another thing they can do, and this is purely good. This is one of those things where maybe it happens once in a day or in a few hours of playing, but if it does happen, if somebody comes and repairs you, how awesome would that feel? And I'm not the kind of guy that would feel put out if nobody comes and repairs me. Stupid team, there's light tank right around the corner, you know. No, I wouldn't feel that way. So for me, this is totally positive. It's gonna give me a smile every now and then, and that'll help with the parts and FPE issue. Let's keep on hearing him talk about what's coming.
It will work the same way it works now when you provide repairs for a squad mate. We're also testing different ways to reward this kind of teamwork. Economy-wise, we plan to make it easier to get higher-level modifications. In order to be able to unlock second-level modifications, you only have to research a single modification at level 1. This way, for instance, you'll be able to work on your FPE immediately after unlocking parts. In the future, we will also keep rebalancing the research costs of vehicles and modifications to adjust for the growing roster of vehicles available in the game. Another big change is the new way the reward system works in tank combined battles. As you know, the reward you get after a match is calculated by taking into account your own actions, eliminations dealing critical damage, etc., and adding a reward determined by the outcome of the match, whether you win or lose. In Update 1.81, we changed the amount of times you can respawn during the course of the battle in Mixed RB, which changed the average time it takes to finish a game session, and made it necessary for us to tweak the way the game rewards you after a battle. We analyzed the data and concluded that there is a way to improve this system in all game modes.
Okay, so they had to adjust things because they changed massively how many spawns you're going to get in a battle, and I think they overcompensated. I got a tank baby over there who's trying to get my attention, so I'll try and make this point quick. And what ended up happening is it just tanked people's RP gain, and that was really, really disheartening to me. And what they're gonna do now, what they're saying that they're working on, and this is something that they're gonna implement as soon as possible, by the way, is getting your RP and Silver Lion gain to represent how long you spent in the match and how active you are. And you're like, well, I thought that was always how it was. Recently they introduced a cap, and it was bad. You guys who've been playing War Thunder lately have noticed the RP gain cap, I'm sure. They're taking out that cap. You can gain as much RP as you earn, as you should, in a match. And how long you stick with the match will also, it will scale. In other words, to put this very simply, if you do well in a match, you will receive your reward. And if you stick with a match, you're not wasting your time. So you don't have to feel in that match that it's a great fight and it's just back and forth and back and forth, and you end up with one guy on the enemy team in an airplane, and you're sitting on the ground in a tank, and you're like, here I am, I have nothing to do. You'll actually get a reasonable amount of compensation for sticking with that match instead of returning to hangar. That's incredible. That's so encouraging to me. I'm gonna go grab Tank Baby and I'll play this video for you guys while I go. We're 3 minutes in, or what, half an hour in of me just talking about random stuff. So while we look at the slightly thoughtful perhaps a bit cautious. Even do I sense some shame there in Kirill? That look. I'm gonna continue. Go grab the baby and bring her in to this conversation. She's actually no, she's talking to Elmo. We'll give it a few minutes.
Keep in mind that this change will only affect random battles. What has stayed the same? You get more for winning than losing. You're rewarded for being active. You can't chill somewhere the whole match and hope for a big reward. You are rewarded for what you do in battle, and also for the time you spend fighting.
So there is still that issue, and I think this is just going to be a natural feature of battle. Every now and then, if you pull the dank flank, or if you set yourself up by doing things like side climbing in Air RB, in order to preserve your own life, you could say, if you play defensively sometimes, you just don't encounter enemies, and your team just wipes them all out before you can get into combat, and you get like nil rewards. That's not going to change, and honestly, that doesn't happen to me often, and generally when that does happen, it's a lesson to me that perhaps I should play a bit more aggressively, or maybe I should go a bit closer to where the enemy is likely to be, and that's a learning experience for me. Doesn't happen all that often. Does it suck when I play a match and I get like no rewards for 15 minutes of gameplay because I just didn't run into anybody? Yeah, it sucks. But it's rare enough. I don't mind that that's still going to be a thing.
What's new? The size of a reward directly depends on the time you spend in the match. The longer you play, the bigger the reward.
So, if you do really well in a match, and then you have a chance to stick with that match for a while, or to artificially inflate how long that match lasts, it's actually a little bit worth your time. Can that be abused, and how will it be abused? Well, the first thing I'm thinking is if somebody does well, maybe they, in terms of tank RB, spawn in an airplane and just climb like crazy to extend the length of the match. Or maybe people who don't really understand the mechanics of the game will still try to do things like spawn in a bomber in Air RB and just climb the whole match and think that they're going to get good rewards. But I'm not sure. I mean, I was a kid and I was stupid and I didn't know how games worked, and I would try something like that, but I would get bored with it, and I wouldn't know why it wasn't working for me, and I would just keep trying, right? Because I was dumb when I was a kid, right? I just didn't know things. So I think there's not much you can do about the idiot kid syndrome, and you just have to live with it to a certain degree. And when it comes to things like abusing the time spent in match mechanic, I think it's gonna happen. I think that it may increase a small amount, but maybe it just means that tryhards are sticking with matches instead of jumping out of them as soon as the tides turn. And honestly, I don't think that really affects me very much. I'm just gonna try and do well in matches, and the fact that I'm gonna get consistent rewards for sticking with it, presumably, it really encourages me, and I think this is the change that I needed to see in order to keep me happy in the game. I was finding my own joy, going back to the things that made me happy in the past, but I was running out of things that I enjoyed to do, and hopefully this will expand the list of vehicles and game modes that are fun for me to play and rewarding, and I really think that's what's going to happen, and I look forward to you guys finding more joy in the game as well. Let us celebrate and continue the video. Vyacheslav, sing your dulcet tunes, my friend. We are pleased to hear your voice.
It is a linear progression. The reward you get after a 20-minute long match will
Oh, I noticed that. Look, carry on.
be 2 times bigger than the one after a 10-minute long match.
Inflation. No, not gonna make that joke. Moving on.
Given that your level of activity, actions, eliminations, zone captures, and the outcomes, victory or defeat, were the same per minute. There is no cap of any kind for RP gain. Your level of activity is calculated taking into account only the time you spend in-game, and not the time it actually takes the session to end. We wanted to make players more active, and also give them bigger rewards.
So basically what this is going to do is, before, your battle activity was calculated based upon the total length of the match compared with your time spent in the match. So it was really basically always against you. The best you could do is survive a whole match and have no penalty to your battle activity. But commonly what would happen is you would fall somewhere further back on that scale. So you would have a penalty of around, let's say 30% to your battle activity because you didn't survive the whole match. You couldn't stay active for the whole game. You had to go back to hangar. Now, what he's saying is your battle activity percentage will be based entirely upon how active you were during the time you were in the match. Now, what does this mean? Time in match is really irrelevant. It has entirely to do with basically how aggressive you were. Were you scoring points during the time you were playing? If you scored the most points while you were in the match, 100% battle activity. Moving on, get into a new match. If you played the whole match and you were, let's say top 30 your team, bam, 75% battle activity, right? That's something you could reasonably expect. So no longer are you penalized in your battle activity score, which is a sort of a factor in how much RP and SL you gain at the end of a battle. You're no longer penalized for dropping out of a match. So you have on one hand an incentive to stick with the match because you continue to get RP and Silverline rewards for sticking with a match. And on the other hand, you're no longer penalized for needing to leave a match early. I wonder if you could abuse this, because again, whenever you're looking at a change in mechanics, somebody's going to think, okay, how can I munchkin this? How can I pull out my spreadsheet and figure out how to get the most RP and SL in the shortest amount of time to do that grind? And instead of playing the game, they're gaming the game, and they're not doing what's best for their team. They're just doing whatever is best for their grind. Here's my suspicion, and we'll see if this proves true. What if you have one vehicle in your lineup, you capture a base, you go and you just charge directly toward the enemy, try and bounce shots, take damage, get hits, you don't even care, and you get wiped out. That's the only vehicle in your lineup. You go back to hangar. Of course, you're the person in your team with the highest score because you captured a base, and then you took hits, you dealt hits before anybody else was doing really anything. You now have 100% activity for that battle. You have the maximum possible multiplier for your RP and Silver Lion gain because of that battle activity. And you've basically done nothing to help your team. So is this a way of grinding really hard, grab a quick vehicle, capture, like RU-251, premium vehicle, super fast, you Sanic your way to a capture point, you just aggressively attack the enemy team. Is this going to be the new meta for people who are grinding? Is this going to be the most efficient way to grind? It could be in this current system that's being talked about, and it's a huge... it's not going to help your team out at all. But I think this does encourage the middle ground, and it gives new hope to players who have felt like they've been held back, right? We don't have to turn to the dark side and get all moody and talk about sand. We're not being held back by our teachers anymore. The masters have granted us reasonable gains for reasonable effort. So in the middle ground, I think this is a huge step forward. In the Munchkin zone, where people are trying to min-max everything, I think that it doesn't address that issue. In fact, this is more of an encouragement to burn out early in a match and then get out of the match and get into another one. But I really think that that's fine. You know what? Screw those guys. I've been that guy a few times when I needed to really grind for something and I didn't have the time. And the one thing that held me back was that battle activity percent if I wasn't there for the whole battle. But there's ways around that anyway. Spawn in an airplane, get a ludicrous amount of points, and then just get out of the match. So, overall, I think this is a huge step in the right direction. But, like anything, if you want to abuse it, you can, and it's going to kill the amount of teamwork that you're actually putting out. But, once again, screw those guys. If you want a munchkin, if you want to grind hard, you know what? It's your game too. Play it the way you want to. I'm not counting on you anyway. I'm just going to try and do my best. Let's move on.
Even if they can't play till the very end of the match. These changes mean that players will have a clear incentive to play till the very end of the match, because the reward depends both on their actions and the time they spend in a match. At the same time, players who are unlucky to be knocked out of a fight early won't lose as much in terms of profits, because the game will judge their level of activity only on the time they actually spend playing, and not the time it takes for the session to finish. The system will be set up in the way that the size of a reward you get for only 9 minutes of in-game fighting will be roughly equal to what you were able to get for the whole session before the changes. The new mechanic...
Okay, so I was a little bit distracted by the constant confetti of gunfire going off in the background and thinking about how I could turn that into a Soviet Union quote like, in Soviet Russia, party confetti's you. But yeah, that was kind of lame. And that's why I was distracted. I was trying to make it not sound lame. And I was also distracted by the fact that his little mic on his what would be a lapel if he was wearing a suit, his little mic there, it looks sort of like a used Q-tip, and I was just thinking, like, you don't want to Q-tip the inner ear. I don't know if you guys know that, but it blew my mind, right? Like, your ears are supposed to be full of gross, disgusting orange or yellow earwax. I think some people have sort of like a tan, brownish color earwax. Maybe Asians. Not sure. Don't know much about Asians. But, you don't want to wax the inner ear, man. You just get, like, the outside, you know, where the... I don't know about you, but I get, like, the little itchy parts. And you don't want to itch things with your fingers because your fingernails have, like, nasty bacteria in them, and it just makes the itch worse. So you take something that's clean, like a Q-tip, and you swipe there on the outside of the ear, you know, the little swirly bit that you know sort of tucks into the upper part of the ear. You know what I'm talking about there. Get a little bit of that sort of white stuff, flaky. You know, it's not earwax. It's like dead cells mixed with sweat and all those other delicious things. I don't really think that's gross. You know, give it a little sniff to see what it smells like. Oh, that smells kind of like bacteria today. You swipe it, but you don't want to use those swabs for the inner ear, because if you end up wiping away your gross, disgusting earwax, it doesn't flow the way it's supposed to naturally, so it gets like bottled up inside where you don't thoroughly clean. And if you do actually thoroughly clean all around there, I thought, well, like, hey, I'm not going to puncture my eardrum, right? I'm not an idiot. So what's the worst that could happen? Well, what turns out is it causes ear infections. You get swimmer's ear. You just end up having more problems with your ear, especially when it comes to regulating the pressure of fluids inside the inner ear where you're not messing with, because you're messing with the outer ear and with that system that's designed to keep those sensitive membranes balanced. Why was I talking about that? Oh yeah, I was distracted. So I think what Vyacheslav just said is that you can get the same reward for 9 minutes of activity if you're, you know, balls to the wall mode. And you know what? If you can get the same for 9 minutes, you can get the same for 4 minutes. So I'm thinking Tank RB here. I'm thinking playing very aggressively, having 1 or 2 tanks in my lineup, maybe an airplane, and just going straight up kamikaze mode. 9.0 Americans, anyone? Like, I'm gonna lose the match anyway. This is not something I would do, but this is something I think is possible. You got your XM1 pay to progress, pay to win vehicle. You capture a point, you shoot some people, you die because you're not playing tactically at all. You get fantastic RP rewards, you do it again. I think that's going to be possible with this system. I think it's going to be more viable with this system, but I don't really care. I'm not going to play that way, and once again, you know, even though you get better rewards for winning the match, I'm not going to try to force my team to win the match, and I won't be disappointed if they show no teamwork, not because that wouldn't be an awesome thing to see some teamwork, but because if I don't expect any teamwork, I won't be disappointed when I get none. Do I sound like somebody that's used to American Air RB and the upper tier American tank battles? Yeah, I think that's where I'm drawing that attitude mostly from. It keeps me sane. But these are some good changes coming. Let's keep her coming now.
Nick for requesting repairs is scheduled to be a part of Update 1.83. Changes concerning battle rewards and modification unlocks are planned to be implemented at the earliest opportunity.
So, 1.83 is going to bring the ability for tanks to request a repair, and then hopefully your allied scout tanks, light tanks, will come and repair you, just like they already can. So the big change coming with 1.83 is the ability to actively request repair. And again, hopefully that will come with some kind of icon that shows up over your tank, just like it does when you're requesting a tow. And hopefully people will jump on that opportunity. But you got to wait until update 1.83 for that to be implemented. However, the removal of the RP gain cap, which is huge, and the change to the battle activity system, which is a big deal if you understand what I'm talking about. If you don't understand, basically, you're going to get more rewards in every match. And if you're active, you're going to do even better. There's gravy coming, is what I'm saying. And when is that going to take place? As soon as possible. I expect it within the next week or two, but we'll see. If they need to take some more time to balance it out properly, I think they will, but I suspect it's going to be pretty soon. Definitely before 1.83, so let's keep going and hear him finish off the video with the toodaloo. Pay close attention to the secret movements of his goiteral region there. Ain't nothing wrong with having a double chin. I grow a beard to kind of cover mine up, but not because I feel the need to. But there's a certain build, you know, where you have a little bit more vertical of cheekbones and a little bit less prominent of jawline, and Vyacheslav is rocking that, and it's fascinating to watch the lower portions of his face enunciate the movements of his jawline. So enjoy that as he closes off the video.
Before the release of Update 1.83, we always appreciate your feedback and constructive comments. We read and analyze them on all platforms. Thank you for staying with us and playing War Thunder. We hope that you like these changes, and please share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks again, and see you soon.
I don't know what he said at the end there. I don't speak Russian. One thing that I'd like to just finish this off with is we had Bruce here the whole time doing the commentary, and he did a great job. But if you notice, I suspect that the audio quality was a bit lower than what we're used to hearing from Bruce in productions like, what is it that he does? The Thunder Show. And I suspect that is because this was less of a planned thing. I don't know. I feel like maybe they weren't recording in Bruce's, whatever studio Bruce records in. I think maybe he was in a different studio. Like, they pulled him off the street. They were like, "We need to make video, comrade," and they just threw him in there with, you know, a half-empty bottle of vodka and a still lit cigarette from when Vyacheslav did his speech. And, you know, they threw him in there, and they're like, "Do English," and he did the English, and he did a great job. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's how they do things at Gaijin HQ, but I feel like they really threw this together in the best organized way that they could. But they definitely started working on this right away and got this out to deal with this issue. So feel like your voice is heard. And to wrap everything up, guys, just be good to each other. Be awesome to each other. And shower on the appreciation to Gaijin for these changes that are coming to the game. I'm going to check out how they play out for me. I have high hopes. And I had decided not to spend any more money on this game for a while because of things I talked about earlier. Not to try and make some kind of statement, but just because I was sad. And I've learned to not spend money when I'm sad. It doesn't help anything. And now, I'm kind of happy. I like spending money when I'm happy. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, and check out the European Canadians video that you can see right here. I was also watching some of these. Puffin Forest is a hilarious guy. He's a dungeon master, so I've been watching those. But yeah, watch the European Canadian here. He's a fantastic fella in general. I'm gonna check the comments real quick. Hey, Derp Tank says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him, nerd." Yeah. Okay, and then he had to take off. See you later, Derp Tank. And then this lovely fellow says, "Hello, I'm from India. I want to sell." Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. He's just being an edgy boy. All right, guys. That was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. I hope you guys didn't get the impression that I was making fun of Vyacheslav or body shaming him at all. Let me tell you something about myself. Like, I take the features of my body that I may be tempted to dislike, like how my belly is growing because I do a lot of time sitting on my butt, and it's like getting to this point where I just have this constantly sweaty area in between my belly fold, I want to say, and the skin that like pushes up against it, that's part of the lower half of my body, and it's just like constantly sweaty and a little bit itchy, and you know, like bacteria grows in that environment. So I'm always like, you know, I'm conscious of the fact that I need to clean that so it doesn't get gross. But I didn't have that before, and I could be tempted to hate it, but what I do instead is I take a good double handful of my belly fat, and I just wiggle it, and I feel the heft of it, and I laugh to myself, and I enjoy my new features. And what I like to do is the opposite of body shaming, and my daughter has picked up on this. She's the tank baby, and so what she'll do is she'll lift her shirt up to show her belly, and she'll slap it, and she'll just have a huge smile on her face because she knows that just like fat is fun. and so that's me. Bye.